How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. See, you got your
guys-
crew working back there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, Anatol. Yes.
The manual and the auto running at the moment. Well, they're running the manual, but they're trying to set up a sim process on the auto. So
Ooh.
you guys look hot. You got a fan and everything.
Yeah,
It's hot up here.
it's damn hot on the Gold Coast right now.
Have you guys had a lot of the rain or any flooding or anything?
Yeah, the last weekend it was throwing it down, pissing rain, but big sunny day today, and as it does happen, the humidity is crazy today.
Yeah, yeah. Oh well, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to learn stuff from you and hear from your story. And so, do you want to just start by telling us who you are and your business and what you do in the main? That's all right.
Yeah, yeah. What was that question again?
Tell us who you are, what your business is called, and what you do.
Yeah, based up here on the Gold Coast, where my name's Mitchell, and I started Ripple Print House about 1.5 years ago now, 2 years, and yeah, we're just just having fun creating new products every day. And this is Adrian. I'll let him introduce himself.
My name's Adrian. Hello. I'm a 47-year-old screen printer, and that's all I've done in my adult life. I use that term pretty loosely, adult. That's for 30 years. All I've done is either pull a squeegee or put all in the apparel game too, like having branched out into, I know there's obviously many variances of screen printing, but it's all been apparel based for me. I was lucky enough to kick off sort of like I lost my virginity to a supermodel. Billabong was the very first job I ever had.
Really? Wow.
So that was, and I walked into there just as they were beginning their ascendancy to the global domination that they had for a time there. Right in there, it was 1992. Left high school. So 92, I was at Billabong and went through until I got made redundant, as we all did in the screen print department. That was 2010 or 11, I think, that we all got done there. I mean, and all of us at that point were all like, we were all dying at Billabong. Like all of us were, we'd been there for years and we're a family, so to speak. It was quite shocking getting made redundant from a job that I thought I'd have for life. It forced me out into I'd certainly had garnered plenty of knowledge as to how to print at Billabong, but it wasn't until I left Billabong that I think I became a better tradesman, because I had to use a machine that was a bit lacking, or, at Billabong, it was anything you wanted, you got, I would need a new exposure table. All right, sweet. Just, find one for us and we'll write the invoice, we'll write the checks. So everything we had 4 of everything. It was the best one of its kind. And then you leave that and you go into a backyard print shop, and the screens are getting held together with bits of tape, and it's like, you just remesh it, So I certainly, I learned a bit more when I didn't have the silver spoon of Billabong,
Yeah. Basically, you'd sort of hone those kind of gifts and skills that you had to make poorer quality kit work. Yeah, which is the way most of us start, right? We start with the poorer quality stuff and then move up with it.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that I had brought up with a silver spoon in my mouth until like the first day you're in a backyard print shop, nearly crying, like, this is frightening. It's like, oh yeah, I did have a bloody silver spoon in my mouth as a young fella growing up, But like I said, I wouldn't change it now. I'm a better tradesman. I'm a better printer than I was at Billabong. Like I am today, a better printer than I was at Billabong in 2010. So it's I still love the game. 30 years. That's what obviously you need to have some sort of drive, don't you? This is my boss sitting next to me. There's no disrespect, but hey, I'm not a millionaire and I'm not getting paid, $200K a year to screen print. So what it does do is like, I've got to love it. You've got to love it, you know, or get out of it and go find a better paying job, you know. But yeah, I get stoked, you know. I get stoked on prints just as much as I did when I was 17, you know. Like I still appreciate a cool print, you know. It's never lost on me when I'm printing a pile of t-shirts that, even if it's just one of those shirts in that pile, could be the person who ends up obtaining it down the line. That could be their favorite tee, like the one that they love the most. You know, I've been in the print game 30 years. I've still got favorite tees that I love to wear, and I'm proudly, yeah, check me out, you know. So I know it's never lost on me at 47 that I'm printing a pile of 200 shirts. There could be one golden boy in this pile, you know. So that's something that, you know, I enjoy. It keeps my passion and my drive there to deliver the best prints I can, you know.
No, it's an interesting business, especially with the kind of art side of it. I think you kind of grow to hate it, or you just love it the whole time. There's times when I've certainly grown to hate it and struggled with, particularly with water base and you know, doing more complex prints and so on, and having poor quality tees. But yeah, it's an unusual line for sure. And Mitchell, how about yourself? How did you get going in this? Because you've got a very different background, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of brought up around it. So the idea of, you know, being in that, I guess, streetwear fashion kind of side of the business kind of came pretty natural because, you know, I grew up surfing and, you know, I was lucky enough to have quite a few different sponsors that focused on apparel. Their main business was providing, you know, apparel and, you know, wetsuits such as, you know, Billabong. That's where I, you know, met Adrian and met, you know, most of the people I know within the industry is through Billabong and the surfing kind of connection. So how I got into it was forming my own brand, and then also, you know, doing the manufacturing offshore, you know, in different places, and then also printing locally on the Gold Coast as well. But what I had was just not, you know, some styles would sell and some wouldn't, and I just wanted more flexibility to be able to print, you know, more so on demand. But I guess what ended up happening, I started with a digital printer, and it worked to a point, but I wasn't happy with the, you know, the quality of printing on darker garments and a bunch of different factors. Really, I didn't like how slow it was. I mean, it was fun, but it slow. It just, my transition just moved towards screen printing. But originally, I thought screen printing was way too hard to achieve, you know. And so there was kind of a bit of a pipe dream, but then it just kind of, I think, you know, going from the digital printing world, it just forces you into screen printing because it's better quality, there's more flexibility. It's just, overall, it just trumps it. And it just, you know, especially like with manual printing, you know, that same machine we could come back in 50 years and achieve the same results. Whereas in the digital printing world, like every year, you're probably going to have to be updating, and it's really fast paced, expensive, noisy. Whereas, you know, like manual printers just sit there and stay silent, and I like silence. So, and they just work. But to answer the question, probably it was just to have more flexibility in printing my own designs without the need to, you know, overstock things. But then it grabbed me by its hooks, screen printing, and, you know, all I want to do is master it. You know, I know that it's a long road, but I've got like a really good team, a small team, but we're all from a really similar background of surfing and, you know, apparel making and printing. So it works really well. And it's just morphed into just now an obsession to dial it in. And the thing I love about it is just setting up processes and systems to make it really efficient. I just want to get to to find where, you know, we can become really efficient. It's good, you know, once we've got the garments and everything set up, we're flying through our stuff. So it's and with really good quality, and that's really good. There's just other areas that need to come together for it to be, you know, really efficient.
So the kind of bottlenecks along the process, where would you say they appear, or where it's slower?
For me, it's probably, you know, trying to streamline, because we do a lot of work for different customers. It's just streamlining that process for them, making their job really easy for them to give to us, and for us to, you know, translate what they want onto the t-shirt as quickly as possible. That's not always easy, but you can definitely make it easier. I know you can do that. And then it's just, you know, being organized and prepared, having a clean shop, and always just showing up and willing to learn and get better. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. You can throw more staff at it or throw really good equipment at it, and I'm kind of the latter.
Yeah, and I guess with the equipment, generally, in my experience, you get more continuity and consistency in the process, which makes the whole process run better, right? Like often in our little shop, you know, if we're taking on someone new, they start at reclaiming screens. And if they last more than a day, we think, well, they're probably a keeper. But, you know, we do go through people. But of course, if they don't clean a screen well, by the time that's recoded, if no one notices it and it ends up back on the press, you know, the press operator's like, I've got to start with a press wash just to make this work, you know. And so, yeah, we've kind of learned a little bit about getting some consistency. And I think, you know, at the moment, well, it used to be the only person that, for example, could coat screens here was me in terms of getting that consistency. And I finally trained another member of the team. And to be blunt, I hope he doesn't listen to this. He's doing a great job. He's really getting there. But some screens are thicker than others, to be blunt, you know, and that makes a massive difference. But I still kind of think, oh, yeah, maybe an automated coder would be good, you know, for that reason. But at the moment, it's a ton of money. Okay. So just to clarify, you're printing for customers as well. You're doing custom prints, not just for your brand, or are you focusing on your brand?
I mean, we're so far that's all we do, mostly. But that's my goal is to release our own line of designs and apparel. That's what keeps us. That's what keeps me inspired to keep going. Obviously, you know, the printing for other companies is great, you know, when it's on. So we'll always keep doing that because you know, people need shirts, so we print them.
Yeah. And so what kind of brands of garments do you print on? Like everything, or you kind of exclusive to one, or what's your...
I mean, Adrian's printed on basically every garment imaginable. So in terms of brands, you mean like the suppliers we use?
Yeah, Gildan, American Apparel, Layers Color.
Yeah, we certainly, you know, obviously it's always going to be the client's call at the end of it, isn't it, as to how much they want to fork out. But you know, like as the printer, and I know that, you know, like I don't, as a disclaimer, I've never run a screen print business, but I've been in the game my entire life, and I'm old enough and ugly enough to know that, you know, I've got a valid opinion in the way a productive screen print shop runs, but they're dealing with clients. I've never done that, you know. So, but I think there is that, you know, obviously trying to teach the client to a degree without sounding really arrogant, teaching them so they know that the difference between, you know, a cheap Gildan shirt or a really nice, you know, AS color staple or something, you know, or but yeah, I mean, we do just the sort of the generic, Australian brands, like the Australian, we all sort of our bread and butter in this game in this part of the world. I know you've got the Los Angeles apparel.
Yeah,
connection.
I mean, I think that
it's a bit unique, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's other than AS, like I think they're the best and most accessible quality we have in Australia. But I do really like the American brands. I think they do a really good job. It's just really hard to get here.
Getting them, yeah.
So we're limited, and I think AS is definitely on par with them. It's just the US has, I think, sometimes it can be a little bit more on point with what's happening, in the streetwear game anyway. So it'd be nice to have that selection, but AS do an incredible job. They're mostly always in stock with the stuff.
They are now. Yeah. It didn't used to be. But,
So it's good. Like they're consistent, and like you got to thank them, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the businesses that we have. Yeah. So it's and vice versa. But they've given screen printers a pretty big platform to use. And to have that in stock. To not go bust. And to have reasonable, good quality, and so it's pretty impressive, really, to have that them here in Australia.
Yeah, look, on that, from our perspective, as you're aware, I'm very new to this entire industry. So we started out with I won't even name them, but they were a Bangladeshi company. Nothing wrong with that, of course. But we didn't know what quality was. We didn't know what dye migration was. We, just thought, wow, these are cheap. Let's print on those. And then somebody said, oh, have you heard of Gildan? Of course, I'd never heard of them. And so we got to deal with them, started pushing their stuff out, and started looking at the different qualities within their standard brand, as well as I really like Comfort Colors. And I would imagine for the surf world, that's a really good brand, although they seem to dye migrate quite a lot. And had never heard of AS Color, and so we were just happy doing 5000s in the Gildan range and a bit of American Apparel and AAA, as I say, Comfort Colors. And, we print a lot for church groups. And so, the dollar matters most to them in a way. And so we may go down to a 64,000 for them, try and save them a bit of money. And then someone said, oh, you should be printing on AS Color. And I looked into them and was like, gee, these are a world apart. If you look at no discredit to Gildan, they've obviously got products for different markets. But if you look at something like a 64,000 Gildan and compare it to a 5,001 staple T in AS Color, just the print quality alone,
absolutely.
And I've found I've started saying that to customers. We generally push AS Color out there, but they might go for a block tee and they'll say, what's the difference? And I'll say, well, there's a couple of things in terms of how the cotton's put together. But the print quality is much, much nicer on a staple, which it is, and they'll just go for it. So I'm learning as the customers are kind of learning as well. But okay. So the American brands that you might want to get, are they people like Bella Canvas and, what kind of American brands?
There's a couple. There's Los Angeles Apparel. They're really nice. There's that Rue Porter. They're more European. They're just really high quality. They're all made in-house and in the US or in Europe or Portugal. Like cotton from Portugal is like the premier kind of cotton in the world. So they're just really good quality. I mean, you can get them here, but it's, you've got to pay for the shipping, and which we'll do for some of our own products. Because I just know that they print well, the colors are really vibrant, and just good quality. And and it's a point of difference. So I mean, you just got to be on the search for always new products. But like you said, like we always, if there is an opportunity, I'll always push people into using AS Color. just because of the quality and the print and the stability of, you know, the t-shirt is better than, you know, the best we've found in Australia anyway. So it's like, yeah. And it's probably, you know, you can tell because most people are printing on AS, you know. Most print shops are probably going to have a lot more AS coming through than any other brand. Yeah.
So, like obviously you'll print on some polyester with hoodies and things, but do you ever print on polyester sportswear or lycra or anything like that? Is that something that you come across in the need to print?
I mean, I haven't yet in this shop because we're relatively new and our, you know, our customer base is still growing. But I mean, Adrian's printed, I mean, he's from the surfing industry. So he's printed on some of the world champions rash shirts, so lycra and spandex,
Yeah, right.
You know, doing all of that manner of printing for big events. So he's got that experience. If we ever do get it, we do get it every now and then, you know, Adrian knows what to do. So like, yeah, like it's, yeah, I mean, it's, we're still, it all depends on the customer too. Like they have different needs. So yeah, it's good fun. Like I would really like to print on like waterproof jackets and things like that in the future, you know. So,
yeah, right.
And that's a whole different process as well. But you got kind of like move into it slowly and make sure you can handle it and
and do it well.
And do it well. Because like those garments, you know, they're expensive. There's no room, not much room for error.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? And I mean, we always kind of balk a little bit. We do a lot of well, one of the other markets I should say that we're into is sports venues and gyms, and so there's always that thing of, you know, pushing them to AS color apparel, but they'll also come back with, we want this other thing, it's like her or whatever it is. And we found that our best results from those, you know, are from changing inks and so on, but we still feel very nervous when any of those come through. The job the guys have got going on the manual at the moment is 480 polos for a school, and they bought the polos themselves, and, you know, they have the name of the school sort of woven into the collar, you know, that kind of thing. And they're 2 colors, 100% polyester, you know, from size 16 down to size 4. And it's like, oh no. And they're red as well. Like if any color is going to dye migrate, it's going to be red, right? So they're using low bleed ink right now. It's just a 2 color job. And they're just, you know, I've told them just to test for dye migration for the first half an hour and, you know, stop the job if it's dye migrating.
And nothing else goes in the oven whilst those red polos are going through the oven.
Correct. Yeah. And it's scary, right? Like, you know, the customer turns up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you think, oh dear, I really want to do this, but so I just sort of let them know what the risks are, really, I guess. But yeah, it's scary trying something out. So you guys plastisol, water-based, mix, what are you doing?
I mean, we'll do it all, you know, but we're it all dependent on the job. Like I love the big vibrant, I love it all. So we've got to use it all. Like we can't you know, be in one category and just water based, or, you know, I love it all. Like, you know, I'm always on the hunt for new products and what we can do and achieve. So I don't think that is never going to end. I mean, I know you can get, I mean, if you just focused on one, you'd probably get really good at it. But, you know, for my background in surfing, like you're not going to just surf one style of wave. You're going to try and surf every style and good at it, you know? And it's like competition, surfing or any competition, you know, it feels, you know, you're not necessarily the best if you win a contest. You're just good at a number of different things all at once. So it it helps to be across all of them, you know, to a high level. You don't have to be the best at it, but you can be efficient at all of it. I know in America and European market, you might have the freedom to just go, look, we're only doing water based. But I don't believe our market's big enough to just go, hey, that's all we're doing and we're not doing anything else. See you later if you come to us for water, you know, for water based or for plastisol or for whatever inks you use. Like Adrian's, you know, was schooled at Billabong, which is arguably the biggest print shop in Australia and one of the biggest brands in the world at the time that were printing graphic t-shirts. Like you can't, you know, and he's seen all the phases and all the different things that have come through there, you know, more than, you know, I believe any printer in Australia, you know, so that's, it's really good to have that in here, you know, so I don't want to pigeonhole myself to just water-based or, you know, but I want to know it all. That's what I'm hooked, because there is so much to know. Maybe, you know, Adrian does things that are so second nature to him, but I'm like, okay, I got to learn that, you know, I got to learn this now, this, you know, and it goes on. And there's some, you know, coming into a green and fresh is like, you know, there's things that, you know, that I might suggest that he hasn't done before, or, you know, and there's things that he knows that I'm just like, oh, you know, I just can lean on him for knowledge. And, you know, my artwork separator, Michael Rod, worked at Billabong doing all the separation. So he's like
very good at his job.
Yeah, like I've had other jobs separated from other people, and it's, you know, he's the best. So
you outsource all the seps?
No, it's in house, but we.
Oh,
you know,
okay, sorry. Yeah.
You know, a guy that's super experienced. So.
And once again, it was a Billabong connection. This whole conversation is, you know, the common thread is Billabong. You know, like I remember Mitch had. So for those who don't know, he's a bit too humble. So he was a pro bodyboarder. The dude has done some amazing things. Mitch Rawlins, Google his name, people. He had a DVD come out. What year was the Mitch vid? About 2008 or something.
Yeah, maybe 2008.
And I was at Billabong at the time, and at this point I had sort of reached as high as I could go without being a supervisor. I was the head sampler at Billabong. So all of the stuff would be sampled on a hand carousel, but the Tas automatics would run it in the production sense once it was all sold and Reggie did. So that's something I prided myself on. I would never just sample it to make myself look good. I'm sampling this 10-color job, thinking like I'm an automatic machine. All right, I'm going to flash the base, and then I'm going to run 4 wet on wet. I'm going to flash that, and I've got 4 more, and I'll flash, and I'll put the key line last. You know, so it would translate over to when it was production, and it got dropped into the machine. And the last time this done, it was on a hand carousel. There would be continuity, you know, and of course, and that's something that I want to touch on is the record keeping of print shops. I think that is. The foundation and the spine that you build a shop on, but we'll come back to that. It was what was I going? Yeah, just the Mitch's had a video DVD release, and it was a really quick, spontaneous thing. The guys from the marketing department call me in the print shop, got the little mobile phones. You know, he's talking to me from over there, and he says, "Man, we've got this artwork. Mitch has got this video release coming out. He needs like 50 white shirts. And we need to print these now because Mitch is in the building and he wants to leave with these shirts." So this artwork was thrown together in minutes. It was zipped down to me. I ripped and printed it on the Epson printer. I shot the film, and then I gave the boys a call in the marketing and said, "Hey, I'm about to print this thing. Mitch is more than welcome to come out." And that was, I'd known of him. I was my Gold Coast boy. I knew this guy since I was, you know, I'm a few years older than him, but was conscious of what he's done throughout his entire career. So I remember Mitch comes out, this was 2004 or 5, and I could see the stoke in his eyes. He's just standing next to me, and I'm on the hand carousel just knocking out. It was white shirts, a black print. Like I knocked this out in minutes, right?
Dream.
Easy. And he's just, you could see the childlike, just frothing, just like, and I still see, and that was 10, 15 years ago. And when we do work today, I still see the froth in his eyes. I'm like, oh, how good is this? You know, like, and that it enthuses me as well. You know, I'm 47. There's times where you go, oh, bloody screen printing. But then you see the, and you're like, yeah, man. Like you'd sort of, there's this sharing of energy, you know.
Yeah.
And it's, I very much enjoy, and he's obviously, like you said, he is green, but he's a sponge, as a, you know. And I remember being the same when I was 17 and I landed on the print floor at Billabong. My mother was a machinist, one of many machinists who was sewing at Billabong at that time.
Wow.
So I was a right little rambunctious boy at high school, and my mother calls me on a Friday morning. I'm about to pedal off to school for the day. Mum calls me at home and she says, Adrian, son, you're starting in the screen print department of Billabong on Monday. Tell the teachers you're leaving. All right, Mum. Righto, Ma. So not only did I have my first real job, but it was like I was Irene's son. So there was this expectation on me, like, yeah, I can't fail for me, but I can't fail for the reputation of my mother. So I was full guns blazing. And as you could tell, I like the chitty chat. So when I first landed, I asked every dude 1,000 questions every day. Yeah. And of course, by the end of the first week, you realize, all right, I'm getting nothing from him. That guy hates me. This guy just mumbles. But there was a few, and they're genuinely still work colleagues and friends of mine today. And this was in 1992. I met a couple of these guys that helped me be the tradesman that I am, helped me form me into the man that I ended up becoming. And it was all because of I'm asking, what do you do that? Well, why do you do that? Well, when you put that there, what does that mean? You know, and I see a similar thing in Mitch, you know, where it might just be perceived as a silly question. Why do you put that there? But he's going, well, why do you put that there? And I'm like, well, I'm happy you asked, because I put that there because it's efficient, or it works this way, or whatever it may be. His enthusiasm to want to know. I mean, we even had case in point this morning, a little job with some plas charge inks. Wasn't working as ideal as it could, and Mitch just sort of said to me, hey, let's change the ratio. Let's have a little research and development test session, to which I hadn't even thought of, you know. And sometimes when you are the only printer on the floor, you can't see the forest for the trees, you know. Yeah, sure. And it was, Mitch just said, hey, let's do this. Let's just try it anyway. I was like, you know what? Let's try it. Chicken, we got to win, you know. Yeah. So it's certainly, we are a new business, but I'd like to think that with the team that Mitch has built, like, you know, the art separator and myself, there's decades and decades and decades in this building of experience. And I think there's experience is one thing. Experience has got to be, shazammed with passion. Yeah, you got to love it. You got to be stoked on it. You know, I certainly have worked in other shops and with other printers. And bearing in mind too, all of my 30 years in this industry has been in this town. I've not moved out of the Gold Coast to pull a squeegee. So by definition, there's like maybe, oh God, there's probably even less than a dozen of us now. But there's, do you know what I mean? It's very, there's only a core group of people that move around. They've got the ability, or got the know-how, or the nous, or the desperation to have a print job. And a few of them are a bit jaded at the world and are hard to work with, you know. So that's one thing that I'm conscious of, is like, I want to be the good guy that's easy to work with, you know. I'm a good Irish boy. I know how to have a laugh, you know. But I certainly know I'm not scared of hard work, you know. I'm not going to spend all day leaning on the oven having a chat, you know. But it's the loving what you do. I think that's the secret to, you know, to this. And obviously Mitch had only just put me onto yourself and your podcast, and this is my motivation to be here, is to promote the community of us printers. Because I don't. And is that a fair assessment that that's your motivation too? You want to
100%, build, just to get some chatter, some dialogue going on. I found it quite hard, and you know, there's a lot, it seems, in the US of, you know, people really sharing and connecting and not worrying so much about the competition. And there's a couple going in the UK, but there just doesn't seem to be a lot here. So that was, you know, I'm no expert in podcasts or anything, but I just thought, yeah, wouldn't it be good just to get people going and get them talking and, you know, see what comes out of it. So, but just I mean, from what you're saying, you know, Mitchell, you've got this situation where because of the people you've got, you know, unlike us who started sort of by accident, we had to climb this learning curve and fall off and climb it again. And there were a couple of points on that journey where I was ready to sack it, but it wasn't our ambition to start a business. Whereas you've come together and said, no, I've done my clothing brand. I now need people that have this level of expertise that can teach you, but also grow this company so that you can leapfrog that learning curve. And I think that's, you know, that's gold really when you can do that. And presumably it allows you to leapfrog into the markets. I know you're about to automate your press level, and we'll come back to that in a bit. But was that your plan initially? Is I'll get these guys that really know how to do this and learn how to leapfrog through this?
Yeah, I mean, I've come from manufacturing, like, you know, surfboards and bodyboards and things like that as well. But what happened there was like there was a shortage of skill, and I had, long story short, like, you know, I had to work so hard on the business that I didn't learn the skill enough. So I, you know, when I got into this, I was like, okay, I'm not going to leave myself vulnerable again. You know, like you're always going to have some vulnerabilities, but you know, worst comes to worst, I can get jobs done. You know, I don't have the 35 years of screen printing experience, but I'm going to, you know, accelerate that as much as I can while trying to build the business, because it's multifaceted now. It's really online as well as offline, but it's just the way it kind of come together, and it's pretty. I haven't really thought about it too much, but yeah, after hearing that from you, it's I'm pretty damn lucky, I guess.
Yeah, I'll say.
In that sense, like, but I feel like I'm fair in what we do here, and you know, treat the people around me right. So it's like it's kind of just building this business into something that will provide a platform for Adrian and, you know, my other artwork separator, and, you know, to remain being creative, and, you know, and just whoever else is a part of it to have their platform to, you know, excel as well and not leave anyone behind. You know, it's that's what I want. So yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do it myself. I don't think I wouldn't like to do it myself. I mean, it's hard now, so I don't know if I'd want to go through, you know, I don't want to put out jobs that I'm not 100% with. So I would hate to start, I know everyone does, you start green, but I would hate it sending out a job and not having confidence in it, you know. So I don't know, it's a tricky business to start in, really, like actually accept money off people when you don't know what you're doing. You got to know what you're doing, you know. So I know you can do that, but I wasn't prepared to do that. And I think that's why, you know, my and Adrian, we'll be, you know, we'll hold some things close to our chest and not let it out for what we want to do. But for the most part, it's a hard game. So we open our doors, and we will more so as our business moves along, because someone that's, you know, interested in screen printing, I'm going to start a new business, I'm going to do this and that. They go, okay, good luck, you know, go for it. You know, you'll find that it's not that easy. So it's like you got to have perseverance. You got to really love it. You got to, you know, you're gonna, especially at the beginning, you're probably gonna have a hell of a lot more bad days than good days. Yeah. So, I'm grateful that to say it short, I probably, I don't think I could have pulled it off by myself. It's too hard. Yeah, it's a very hard thing to get going with zero experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for us, we, like I said earlier, one of our bigger market, or it's not anymore, but used to be our bigger market, was churches and church groups and camps and those types of beach missions and events like that, where, you know, with the right level of respect to that market, they weren't so concerned about quality. And that really was helpful to us because, you know, they were getting a good value product, but we were kind of cutting our teeth and going, oh, that doesn't work that way. We need to, what do you mean there's a thing called an underbase? What's that? I've never heard of that before. You know, but if a clothing brand had come on, you know, at that point, I'd have gone, look, we really don't, you know, quite honestly, we're not really up to that level. So just going back to Billabong for a second, Adrian, you mentioned they had TAS presses, is that right?
Sorry, say again, mate.
They had TAS presses.
Yep, for the whole time that they were in operation. You know, it was it was TASs. In 1992, when I first landed there, they had the brand new cream coloured TAS, the 200 series, I think it was, and there was 2 machines when I first started. The brand new 10 colour, I think, which we all thought was astonishing. Actually, no, it was an 8 colour. It was an 8 colour cream and a 6 colour black TAS, like full old school. And that thing was wild. The old 6 colour was the head chopper. Like it had a mind of its own. It hurt some people. I witnessed it hurt people. Luckily, not me. But this is, you got to understand, this was back in the day before safety connections between the heads. And if you break this bar, the machine stops, and the machine ain't stopping for no one. But it was TASs. Obviously, since leaving Billabong, I had worked in other print shops. It was a TAS, and I've had the opportunity to work on a rock as well. Never worked on an MNR. I've seen MNRs, I've touched MNRs, but I've never actually controlled an MNR. But I'll be honest, after having worked on the rock, you kind of look at all these machines. They're all skin and the cat kind of the same way, you know. Yep. And obviously, as I'm sure we'll touch on the Anatol, you know, like I can see it over your shoulder now, but I've never in the flesh seen an Anatol. I'm very much looking forward to playing with this and to working on this. But without sounding like a complete egotistical maniac, I'm not concerned in any way, shape, or form that I won't be able to run this thing. You know, I know what machines can do, and all I just need to know is how this Anatol interfaces between, you know, I want a test print, or you got to do that mat to get the test print. You know, it's. I mean, I could be wrong, but like I said, with the rocks and the TASs, it's all the same stuff, really, you know.
And I think that's where you've got another leapfrogging benefit, in that if you're, you know, like us, and you're coming up through manual presses and you make that jump to an auto, you can learn what button to press real quick. But understanding squeegee pressures and angles and platen heights and off contact, you know, and just the peculiarities, idiosyncrasies, I guess, of an auto. And maybe it's just that auto, you know, maybe another auto is a bit different, you know. That's the bit that we found heartbreaking. Mitch and I have talked about some of these things before, but genuinely, like, you know, I do remember, I think first or second job we did on this auto was a 7 color. And we were just so excited, you know, 7 color, and you know, we put it on. I think we put it on 90 Ts, and we had a good underbase. But it probably took us a day, you know, to register. It was a tricky print, but at one point I just said, "Stuff this. Let's just put it on the manual," you know, like, and that would have been so defeatist, you know. And we didn't. We persevered, but you know, it does. So many big things to learn. So having you, Adrian, there is that, you know, you're just going to be in your element when that happens. So, but currently you're running Vastex manuals, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I will proudly attest. I say this. I'm not endorsed or sponsored by Vastex in any way, but they are by far the greatest screen printing equipment that these hands have ever touched in 30 years.
Okay.
I can't believe these machines. They are astonishing. the micro registration is Mickey Mouse. And I've worked with brand new MNR hand carousels. I've worked with all the array of what I know the Australian market's full of, the Gilros, the Adtex, can't remember offhand. There's a couple that, you know, that I've seen in my time in this game, but the Vastex is just on another level. And like I love it. You know, like I said, that's one thing that gets me stoked when I come in here. I'm like, I get to work on a Vastex. Like,
yeah,
those clients of ours, how lucky are
they?
they?
And it's important. What drives me too in this business is, you know, putting the best equipment in front of Adrian so he can perform. Like I don't want to have him rocking up to work and, you know, and making it harder for him. Like try to make it, you know, you got to. I mean, if you had unlimited money or, you know, a lot more money, you could, you know, I'd put every conceivable thing in front of him and just go, look, this is where we're at, you know, but you got to do it bit by bit. But we're pretty good in the equipment we have and like all the different, you know, board sizes and all different things. You know, there's still improvements to be made, but my whole thing is making sure that, you know, they've got the necessary equipment to make their job easier.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, you don't want to be doing this with crappy equipment.
Oh,
you just can't.
Yeah.
It's like, I've done that. You know, I did start off with, you know, very crappy 8-color carousel that, you know, was, I mean, I thought it was the coolest thing ever when I got it and put it together.
Yeah.
Rad, but, you know, you couldn't, anything other than a 1-color, it's not going to register, you know, so. It's just so important to look at, like in this game, you know, it's so important to look after your staff as well as you can. You just have to, that's, and by putting good equipment and clean areas, like pretty important to me. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, there's a level of stress involved with printing in the sense that if something does go wrong, you know, you've lost a couple of garments or 10 garments or whatever, and it's like, oh man, you know, and reducing that kind of stress for the people working on the machinery is key. They want to make sure it's reliable. They want to know that it's, you know, they're just going to get frustrated and stressed about it. So I'm glad you said that about Vastex, because you know, we tried to do our homework when we went to the usual, you know, eBay blue Chinese press, so-called now, and we're like, 4-color, 1 platinum, this is just terrible. And I should say, where we live, we're 3,000 feet up, and so it's pretty arid here, and so trying to learn with border base wasn't smart. You know, just dried in the mesh so it was so frustrating. And then we got a secondhand Adtech, which was 4-color 3 platins, which is very odd. Yeah. I've got some photos of it. It's bizarre. And that was great. It didn't have any micro on it, so you had to dial it in manually, and it was fine. It worked well for us. And then it was very old, and I started to get a bit of deflection.
Yeah.
I remember we did this job for a jiu-jitsu club, and it was big for us. You know, I think it was, I don't know, over 100 hoodies, you know, and it was 3 colors, and it was just shocking. And I just couldn't work out what it was. And anyway, the job didn't turn out right for the customer. So I then started looking around, and, you know, it's a minefield when you have no idea, you know. And I came up with the same conclusion about the Vastex based on YouTubing as much as I could. And we've loved it. We've got an 8-color there, and as I say, they're running it now, and it never goes out of rego. You know, once you've got it dialed, off it goes. It's easy to manage. It's heavy, and I guess that's perhaps one of its strengths in a way.
That would be. I mean, having known what your podcast, I've listened to a few of your podcasts. I know you have the tips and traps. And that would be the tip that I would give to any aspiring print shop owner is just that if you are buying a machine and it is light, don't buy it.
Don't buy it. Yeah.
That's the tip, right? Heavy is good. Heavy is good. Heavy is solid. Heavy doesn't move. Heavy doesn't deflect. And the Vastex, like we've pushed the Vastex around. It's a two-man job, isn't it? Pushing the Vastex around here. You push it ideally the one time. All right, get it in the position it now lives there. And they are heavy is good. Is the point that I'm trying to make. Yeah.
And have you got any other Vastex equipment as well, or are you just running the presses?
Yeah,
we've got the ovens.
Yeah, we've got the ovens.
Oven. Yeah. Okay. Which oven have you got?
The little big red?
Yeah, the big red.
Yeah. It's not a terribly large thing. Like the heating elements, the heating bays are not a meter and a half, but it's just got a really good solid infrared, application of heat. It's got 3 heating bays, and from my experience, or from what I've read, what I can understand, the first bay is called the turbo bay. So it just throws out a ton of heat in the first section of the garment and then, it subsequently gets a little less, but it's certainly we've had no curing issues, and our oven is 1.5 meters long, and it goes through, it doesn't hold me up. The belt's moving pretty fast. I'm never paused in production waiting for the belt, I think and we bought that just off of the weight of after the hand carousel. It was Mitch for a month and a half listening to me every day going, how bloody good is this machine? And he obviously understanding went, what else do they make?
No, I back Vastex and all that. I think they do it really well. I mean, the only one downside for me is the loading of the shirts. It's a little bit harder to load than I put a loaded a shirt that's probably similar to the Anatol, where it's really thin. It just flies on, so it can get the shirts can get caught, but that's just probably more my technique than Adrian doesn't have a problem with it, but
they're a deep board. I agree. There is, but my experience is on the Rock automatic machine. That's the thing that I was working on. They had a really thick arm, really broad, and the further you got into the board, the deeper it was. For example, a long sleeve garment, it would never happen on this machine that I used to work on. But I know I've since seen that Rock have addressed that issue, and they're now making a thinner, lower profiled arm, because it was just too big and wedgy,
Ironically, we run sleeve platens on the manual and on the auto, and they're actually easier to get on the Vastex manual than they are on the auto. So sometimes if it's not too big a job, we just go, let's run it on the manual, But it's funny, all of that. And I remember getting the Vastex and thinking, well, this isn't very well designed, how the dickens do you get a t-shirt on under here? But you very quickly learn the technique for that. Absolutely. And it works. So you've got the tunnel dryer, the little reds with 3 chambers with the turbo one at the beginning. And what are you running on an exposure unit?
Right now I just have one that I have a friend in Hong Kong that does manufacturing for me, and he just got me in touch with a printer over there. So it's just it's gallium light, it's a big unit, and it's worked for it hasn't really missed a beat for 2 years, but we're looking to go towards the the LED, and as soon as we can, so but right now we're managing with this. But we're getting exposure, not as fast as LEDs, but
still getting the result,
So is that like a metal halide bulb or something?
It is,
So you got the warm up time and
no, just go straight into it, really.
It can be a little bit, but like I said, it's probably the only, I wouldn't say it's a failing at all. It's but it's you know, like I suppose everything else, you know, the Vastex oven, the Vastex hand carousels, everything is Mickey Mouse. It's just, you know, almost feel sorry for the exposure unit because it's, you know, its partners are, you know, are pretty good,
Well,
you know.
yeah, like that's not far off anyway. Whereas, you know, obviously we're getting an automatic. So as soon as, you know, that's in, you know, then we will, you know, get the LED as well.
So let's talk about the automatic then. So you've got a container on its way. It's full of red machinery. Tell us what you've got.
Yeah, so we got it's not red. We got our own custom colors. So yeah.
What color is it?
The Rabbitohs colors.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's serious. I hope they got the Pantone wrong.
Yeah.
No, we got it right. No, yeah. I mean, as we probably all, I know I am. You know, kind of, you know, because we like the Vastex so much, so it's the same colors as Vastex. So just like
army green,
just, you know, with the black, and you know, so we custom colors because we can, I guess, and it looks cool. But yeah,
Volt.
It's a Volt.
Yeah, Anatol Volt.
Yeah.
So I had a friend in Hawaii who was another bodyboarder surfer, and he was using Vastex too for the manuals, and then he'd been printing for about probably 20 years, and he just said his wrists were getting really sore, and so he ended up getting the Volt, and he'd always say, you know, how quiet it is and how nice that is. So that was always an attraction for me, how quiet it, you know, you don't want to be working with, you know, something hissing all the time. I'm sure there's a, you know, purpose for it, but it's nice to have a nice quiet environment as well. So
and the noise of the compressor, you know, on a pneumatic one is very, very noisy in the background, constantly going off. So
that's on its way, and that was mainly to, you know, one to put good equipment in front of Adrian, and also, you know, and if we do get those bigger jobs, we can handle it, you know, like that's the idea anyways, to buy back time. Like, I mean, if we can get through jobs quicker, then there's more time for, you know, Adrian likes to motorbike ride and play golf, and, you know, I like to surf. So if I can buy back some time as well, that'd be great. And also, just have the ability to handle, you know, good size orders. And it was a dream of mine to get it. You know, it became a bit of an obsession to master this game, you know, and I'm a long way off, but, you know, I might not master the print, but I want to master the production. You know, I want to be the guy that can, you know, get things in the door and out the door with good quality. You know, that's where I see my creativity coming into play, you know, and creating a good experience for, you know, our customers and whoever comes through our doors.
There is this kind of maxim that I keep hearing, this sort of adage, you know, it's the big question, isn't it, for a lot of print shops? When do I move to automatic, and how much, and which one, and so on, and how many colors, and all the questions around having the right amperage in the warehouse, which is a nightmare. But there's the voice that I hear around those kind of questions online is always, oh yeah, but when you get it, you'll find you just get a lot more work. And I remember hearing that over and over and over and thinking, well, that's just nonsense, right? How does that actually work? But what I've worked out is it's true. But obviously it's dependent. Yeah. So you're never going to be playing golf again. But obviously it's dependent on getting the decision right about when you get it.
Yep.
And, you know, in the real sense, I mean, it's the usual kind of cliche about if I'd known how much we'd grow and how quickly we'd grow, I would have done it earlier. But of course, you know, you don't know all of that stuff. But I would have done it earlier simply because we don't have that brain and that experience that you've got, Adrian. You know, we had to kind of go through the hard roads again. But it has been our experience. Last year we doubled in revenue, and this year we're currently 60% up. We go by calendar year, not the financial years. But the size of the jobs, because of the way it's allowed us to change our marketing around volumes and pricing, has increased our average order size dramatically in terms of pieces. So it's been the right thing for us. Of course, we've got it, unlike you, we've got an old, I think it probably it probably was around when he first started in Billabong. Like, I really think it was probably 25, 30 years old. It's a 3-meter tunnel dryer, and it's what it is. It's a pizza oven, if you will. It's just not very wide, and the lead-in's about that big, right? So running an auto on it is great. If you've got a little left chest, you can just bang them out. But if you've got a simulated process that's big,
on a hooded
it's just
garment.
like and obviously it's still tons quicker than running an 8-color print on a manual, for obvious reasons, right? So it has been the right time. I suspect that'll be your thing as well. It'll suddenly move in that way. It'll allow you to remodel all your pricing and your marketing, which has been really good. So that's probably going to happen. So you got rapid wave flashes coming with that, I think you'd said before to me, and any other kit coming?
We're extending the belt length for the Vastex to be able to handle more coming off the press. Like, that's one thing. And then we've got the Anatol. This one's got the digital head, so you can change the squeegee pressure and squeegee angle and test prints. I mean, Adrian will be probably more over than that, but that was one feature. I was like, okay, everything I looked at that was like, this is going to make our job easier. Hopefully. Well, that's what you pay the more money for. So
for sure, it's quite a bit more. And listen, guys, I really wish we'd done that. I am an art. I looked at it and I was like, it's a lot of money. Is it worth it? Printers have been doing this manually, but I really wish we'd gone for it. The ability to basically press a button, set them all, but also to say, no, that was on 0.6, we'll make it 0.8. Having that level of precision rather than click, click, click. And don't get me wrong, click, click, click's great, but to be able to just hit a button. So I think, if we ever go to the next auto, we'll definitely do that. But I'd really love to hear back from you on that when you get that running, and how good it is. I think that's terrific. Also, that rapid wave will blow your socks off. There's 2 main settings on that. One is a temperature based setting where you can literally just say, I want this to reach 110 degrees for 3 seconds. And that's great. The sensor does that, sits in the middle and on the underside. And the other way is a standard, on off as the carousel rotates. And again, for seconds and, given temperatures and power settings. It did take
had the similar sensor styled flash, and they were coupled with the Rocks had, for those that don't know, they've got honeycomb boards or platens. They're like a 25 mil thick, and they're honeycomb, and they're super light, and they take heat so quickly, but lose the heat just as well. So you scratch yourself for a minute, your boards have lost the heat, but then of course then you'd have your censored flash, which would adjust for the loss of heat, And that's my question to you. The Anatol boards, are they just a solid slab of aluminium? Is that what they are?
They're a solid slab with a rubber, like the Vastex platens.
Oh, okay, yeah. So once you get the heat in them, you'll be right.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they're pretty good. And sometimes we try and do a changeover between jobs quickly, just to don't make the mistake, by the way, of heating your platens up while you're loading. Like, you sometimes think, I can set up the. Don't do that. That's all I'm going to say on that subject. But you'll find they do hold the heat much better. So LED in the future, would you go Vastex or like, what's your thinking on the LED?
Vastex, they've seem reliable, you know, and adds to our color scheme. It's,
Everything matches.
yeah,
It's
everything
nice.
will match. Yeah, so it's you know, yeah. I mean, we'll just first off is just, you know, getting the Anatol in, and, you know, getting acquainted with that, and, you know, obviously getting all the testing right, and making sure that it's you know, Adrian's comfortable with it, you know, especially on the install. We want that to be thorough. You know, we really want to be thorough on that. We want to know what we're dealing with. You know, we don't want to be coming back with, oh, we should have asked this question, should have done that. You know, we want to, you know, I trust Adrian's going to be able to use it, you know, like it's, yeah, it's definitely a busy time for us, more so in, you know, because we are new. This isn't the only print shop Adrian works in. He works in another print shop also. So, it's, you know, I'm still, you know, hugely setting this company up with the vision that I have, which can be painful sometimes because it is a service-based industry. So you're dealing with, you know, a lot of moving parts and a lot of, you know, customers, and it's been being able to handle that, and also kind of, you know, moving forward with your own goals, you know, because I think you can get sidetracked very easily in this business as well, you know. So, but yeah, I just want to get this equipment in and get it in its right location. Like, another thing is, like, you know, a lot of us screen printers move into factories that aren't shaped for screen printing, you know, like ideally you just want a big open expanse and just set it up in pods and, you know, have everything flow from one end to the other. So, you know, I've got my thoughts around that and how really good production can work, but I mean, you can, it's hard to achieve in someone else's work, you know. You know, obviously leasing a space, so you're working within that space, and, you know, you got dark rooms, you got, you know, the ideal is like what Adrian probably had a Billabong, you know, it was custom built to the, you know,
from the ground up
for screen printing. Whereas, you know, even by looking at your shop, there's probably, you know, you're working with different corners and different things. So it's like you're working within a space that isn't as conducive, but you can always make it work. But the ideal goal for this whole shop is to have something really productive, you know.
Yeah, and it's like when we had the Anatol Vault coming, I can remember it was one of those things where it was coming in November, it was, you know, coming December, and eventually it turned up on the 4th of January. And poor Howard, he was tearing his hair out because the truck it was a B double, and it got stuck, I don't know, a couple of Ks up the road, and it was a total nightmare. And I think we had kind of like installation fatigue in the end, in the sense that not just that we were exhausted, but that we were kind of over it, in a sense, like, you know, I've got to really do more. And so I think going that extra mile to do what you said, to make sure it's absolutely bulletproof, but recognizing it's going to settle and things are going to change, and it needs a bit more kind of work to it. But anyway, what I was going to say is, you know, like 2 or 3 days before, I moved all the equipment up in one corner, and, you know, measured the circumference, and I had little, you know, tape on the ground, it's going to go here, and we got it bang on. I mean, we got it exactly right. But we were having a conversation, I think it was even earlier this week, about, you know, why the hell did we put this here? It's completely the wrong place. Why we should have put it over, you know. And that's super frustrating. We're not particularly big warehouse, and we're hoping to say goodbye, in a sense, to the Vastex. Just, we want to put it into storage. But, and I'll come on to this, because of left chest prints on polos and zips, which is a massive issue on the, it's the first time I popped a screen on the auto. It's like, oh no, this really doesn't work. But I've got an idea on how to fix that, because Anatol does not have platens for zip ups or for polos. They don't have them. It's not part of their armory. But Vastex does. So yeah, and planning that is so difficult. But the other problem we had, you know, I don't know, when we were in the garage, we would print genuinely, you know, on the average kind of flash print, we would kick over 100 an hour, and we'd probably do up to 5 hours a day. I'm older than both of you probably put together, and my body just, you know, I've been sitting in an office. I've been a management consultant most of my life, and so, you know, sedentary, overweight. How hard can this be? Your arms, your limbs are falling off. Like, it's incredible. What the hell was I saying that for? I completely forgot my train of thought. Yeah, that was interesting. Oh yeah. So
like
we,
the layout of the place. Is that what you?
yeah, exactly. And so we split through quite a few each day, and you know, we'd have a lot of stock coming in, a lot going out. And now we've got the auto. We're doing 4 or 5 pallets, sometimes 6 pallets a week. And the thing I hadn't thought of is, where do you put those?
Yeah.
You know, and suddenly you're rethinking everything: the storage, the moving of the press, and it's a nightmare. So that I hadn't, you know, we're already thinking about moving, but you know, how do we do that? We're hopeful that we're in a kind of a complex here with 5 units, and we're the smallest, and we're hoping that one of the others will move. One of them is a brewery, so that would be good getting that one. But yeah, that's a major consideration that I just had no idea about at all.
I can recall in the days, like obviously I was at Billabong through its ascendancy. It floated on the stock market. It was huge. And then, and I remember there was 3 buildings. I started at one, we moved to another, and then there was a third, and it's still at that building today. Now, when they were planning on building that, they actually came to a few of us sort of senior printers and sort of said, "Hey guys, what do you need?" And we were like, "Yes, you're asking us. This is awesome." So, my colleague that I spoke of earlier, I won't mention his name because he's not the sort of bloke who likes his name mentioned, but he knows who he is. He basically sat down. I assisted him, but I'm going to give my friend a good chunk of the credit of designing what is and was the most efficient screen prep room. Everything from the job is done to, you know, taking the tape off, cleaning it, you know, reclaiming, degreasing, coating back again, shooting another image upon that same screen. This was the most complex but efficient space of, you know, this is the tub that you're reclaiming. Then you move to this tub, you degrease in this tub, you know. So like I said, back to the old having that silver spoon in my mouth, that was one of the biggest shocks when I left Billabong and entered the small contract business, going like, oh, what, you're washing the screens out in the toilet area of the factory? Like, whew, okay, wild and loose. But it genuinely is how we do business here in this country, isn't it? Like, we don't, you know, we rent these shops and we bloody ram a print shop into it, whether it likes it or not, you know?
Yeah.
So we certainly have, like, we have not had taken delivery of this Anatol that Mitch speaks of, but I'm here to tell you, we've got our little floor plan, measurements, did the, you know, even down to the old knowing how big the machine is. And it's just so much easier just to shift around a circular piece of paper on another piece of paper to go, well, we can put it there, or we can put it there, we can put it there. And we spent 20 minutes doing that today, went down with the tape measure. We too have tape marks on our floor at the moment where we think our Anatol is going to go. And that's obviously it helped from, I've worked in other print shops that have either moved or grown, or, you know, I certainly, you know, like without sounding like an egotistical maniac, I think my opinion on how a production print room should flow and move is a valid opinion. Like I've seen a lot of them. I've been in big ones, you know. So and of course it's always what you can do with the space that you have got, you know.
There's always ways of, you know, making that work better, but there are limits, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm driven by, is just making it efficient as it can be, you know. And it's like like I forgot the saying, but right now it's just eliminating anything that isn't necessary in the shop is going. It's just out. It's like that's what I'm after. That's what I'm chasing. Yeah.
And so, do you use any kind of shop management system, or like how does the front end, the sales end as well, work with your business?
Yeah, we just do the normal. We've got just a quoting system. Got the I do my own website. So it's just starting to kick in now. Like that's only new. Like we've done this all without a website.
Oh, so, yeah, okay. Yep.
Word of mouth and a little bit of networking here, but yeah, that part is exciting me now. Is like working out how to connect with new customers and our old existing ones, and just continually getting better and better. Like that's what you got to come to work every day trying to get a little bit better, a little bit smarter, and just making it, and to have fun too. Like you can't always just come to work and not just try and make it more efficient and fun, because like it's hard too, because like it's an industry based on performance as well, so
and quality.
You very rarely get compliments that the t-shirt's great. You'll get them if they don't like them. You won't hear from them if they're good, which is probably the biggest compliment. If you don't hear from them, it's great. And then they read order, they're happy. So it's, and that's why I like to create my own stuff, and we will do our own stuff soon, because we know what we like and what we can do, and hopefully we can sell those products as well, because it's you can control that a little bit more. You can't always control what somebody, or you can never control what someone's going to bring you, what artwork they're going to give you and what they expect, whereas if we're doing it ourselves, for us, we know what we can do and what we are capable of, and so I don't know what we're talking about now.
No, it's brilliant. We were talking about shop management software and the process. Something I like to share with people, which I'm never sure how helpful it is, but from my background in a different industry, understanding those processes is critical in terms of working out how to make them efficient. But if you're designing a computer system with end-to-end process for a government department, that's okay, right? That's fairly, at the end of the day, we're kind of just stamping bits of paper, putting it simply, driving bureaucracy, linked to other processes, usually in the terrestrial world. And that's okay, because you can just go, as hard as you want for efficiency. But in our industry, you want to be as efficient as you can, but not lose the effectiveness. And for us, that's the quality. And that's where the rub is, I think, in this industry, and getting, starting with really, really good artwork.
Are you happy with the quality you're doing, or it's something that you want to get better at as well?
No, I'm happy with it. I mean, there's certain types of prints that, like I noticed the print today on those school polos that they're doing at the moment. It's just a little bit rough, and so we kind of like, no, we need to change up the underbase here. But no, I'm happy with what we put out, unless we have a stuff up. We did have one where I think we were doing plastisol heat transfers and someone forgot to put the tunnel dryer's temperature back up, so we did get a phone call, all our prints are falling off, and you fix those things, that happens. So I'm happy with it. The problem is, though, like you, I do want to become more efficient, because it's a money thing at the end of the day. When you think about this industry, it's about replicating something rapidly. When you get that job on the press, it's getting it good, really good quality. There's the rub, there's the tension, but doing it quickly again. And so I've found that with our guys, we have to just, I'll come out and I'll go, gee, the flood's really slow on that head, and they'll be like, shut up, we can't get these on the tunnel dryer quick enough. And so I kind of go, oh, come on, guys, this can go a lot faster. And we're getting a new tunnel dryer to compensate for things like that. But I've now kind of just gone, no, let's let them run it where they want to run it. and we'll slowly turn the volume up on this per job, you know. And there's a confidence thing there, you know. You know, our press operator is one of my daughters. She's co-director in the company. So my company is owned by myself and her. And yeah, which is a bit unusual. It's, as I said earlier, it kind of started as a hobby, and here we are. I think I've done 11 companies since I was quite young. So I'm quite used to the business side of running a business. But manufacturing, if you will, that's totally new for me. But I've kind of just left them and said, you know, you do it the way you want to do it, but we've got these jobs to go through. We have a Monday.com system that we use to manage all the jobs that are coming through and reprioritize and so on. But I can see, you know, I do all the artwork here. Occasionally I'll outsource. It's a tricky, I mean, sometimes we'll use, what's it called? Separation Studio for a sim process, but I've never been 100% happy with it.
I agree.
And
myself.
Yeah, and to be honest, when you think about what you're asking a little computer program to do, it's a big ask, right? And so there's got to be some corners cut there. So occasionally we'll outsource that, or I'll do it. But I'm at that stage where I kind of don't have time to do that now, and I'm not like, I'm okay, you know. So I'm obviously not at the standard you guys are at, but we get it right. So I think, you know, that's an inefficiency for us. So for today, there was a couple of changes in the prioritization of jobs, and my daughter came and said, I need these films. And I said, I haven't got time to do them. I've got a podcast, I've got to get these quotes out, you know. And so just seeing those kind of things causing issues for us next, you know, I think that's going to be the problem. I'm big on marketing and sales. That's really where I come in. But yeah, they're the processes. I think, Mitch, you and I have spoken about computer to screen several times. And I think that'll be something for us down the line that I really do want to get sorted, because we are doing bigger orders. We are doing, you know, a lot more colors per order, and just getting that setup time quicker will make a huge difference. But of course, once the press is running, unless you make your flood bar move a bit quicker or whatever, you know, you're going at the you know, and you, if at any point you're on a slow job, what you do is you go, well, how fast is it? Oh, it's only 200 an hour. And you think, well, hey guys, on the manual that would have been, you know, you can always go back and say, well, compared to a manual, this is super fast.
Absolutely.
So I think you'll love the Anatol. I think there are things that will challenge you. We've spoken about some of those before, but I do think, you know, obviously, Adrian, you're used to this experience, but Mitch, you're just gonna, you know, your tongue's gonna hang out, and you're just gonna love it. You really are. Yeah.
It's just I know they're not the be all and end all. Adrian loves printing on the manual, and I love the idea of manual too, because it's, you know, it's going to be hard for that thing to ever break down. It's not going to break down really. So that effectively, that thing can keep, you know, myself and Adrian and whoever else involved in this business for forever, you know. So the automatic is just the ability to do a big order faster, achieve good consistency. And I mean, we're not getting any younger, so obviously we're going to reduce that fatigue. I mean, if we can do 400 garments, I don't know the level. I really, you know, I look at it and watch videos and, you know, talk to Adrian at the numbers that they can do per hour. But until I see it happen and, you know, what we're capable of, then, you know, I can't really comment. But it'd be, you know, if we can get a job done before 10 o'clock, and, you know, everything done for the day, you know. Like,
no, because you're going to have so much more work.
Oh, we don't know that.
My words.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah. The thing is, like, like we would, you know, without, like, you know, we would take on a lot of work, but at the same time, like, if I know our limits and, you know, what we want to I want to do. Like, so, yeah, for the short term, we would take on as much as we can. If that means working overtime and doing whatever we need to do to get where we need to be, we'll do it. But it's just also, yeah, there is a line drawn to go, yeah, we're not going to kill ourselves for it. We need to enjoy ourselves and, you know, make sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we learned is that, you know, pretty much every job you're going to have, more or less, is going to need an underbase.
Yep.
And when you're working on the auto, you know, dialing that underbase in, getting it as schmick as you can, is critical. And that does mean slowing the press down. It does mean changing the mesh count. It does mean really working hard at the off contact. The other thing is, you know, if you had a white print, let's say a white center print on the front on the manual to do on a dark shirt, you just need one screen. You're going to print flash print it, but you don't have to register anything. Like bang, it's in. Whereas on an auto, you're going to use a highlight white. There's no, you know, you can use the step back feature, but our cutoff level for that is 50 t-shirts. So if you have an order more than 50, we're going to put 2 in. And then, you know, obviously if you had more colors. So that's, you know, I reckon that's the hardest thing to get right, is getting those whites dead right. Colors, in my opinion, you know, making sure the ink viscosity is right, reducing the ink appropriately. That's another big issue. Obviously good screens, all the usual things, but getting that white right, particularly on a hoodie. Man, if I said to you, do you hate hoodies? Most printers would go, absolutely, I hate them.
Absolutely. Answer. They're terrible things.
And, you know, you're like, oh, let's assume you got a big white print on the back of a hoodie. You're like, oh, no. And just working those things out, because you kind of go, oh, this does 500 now. No, it doesn't. Not with this, it doesn't. No press can. And, you know, because we want the print to be good. And there you go. There's your efficiency against your effectiveness, your quality. So that's been hard for us to learn. But, yeah, I think you're just going to absolutely love it. So quick technical question, emulsion. What kind of emulsion do you use, just out of interest?
The Ulano? Is it Ulano?
Yeah.
The Ulano red. Oh, no, Kiwo. Is it Kiwo? Yeah. Kiwo red we're at the moment. We're doing a bit of that. It seems to, you know, is that what we've all? It's all we've had, because I can only recall on one occasion actually getting out the exposure calculator and, you know, finding the relative sweet spot. And then, of course, with these Gold Coast days, basically what I'm trying to say is our exposure numbers, you know, the units that we use for the duration of time do change relevant to the environment, you know, like, you know, like obviously when we did it was a year ago when we did our exposure calculator, it was during the summer months. And then during the cooler months, that number had to change. You know, it was going down. We were overexposing, so I was giving it less time. Now we may have to, during the change of this season. Now it may be beneficial to get the old exposure calculator out again and to see how that old, you know, Hong Kong exposure units treat us. But it's the Kiwo red.
Yeah, there's always a lot going on, you know, so it's always trying to improve each little area, whether it's the organisation of the ink room, the organisation of, you know, making sure you have enough screens coded, you know, everything, the washroom, everything has got to be, you know, tightened all the time, you know, so that's, you know, for now, I try to do that and make that my job. And just tightening just getting tighter in every area. I think that's always the goal.
Yeah.
What inks do you guys use? What brand?
Wilflex Plastisol we've got at the moment. We've got the Permaset water-based, the super covers.
Yeah.
But to be honest, we've got that as, you know, to offer to the client. But you know, it's very rarely do I crack a lid on the water based. You know, it really is our clientele, like our plastisol. You know, Yeah, and that's been a majority. That'd be about 97% of my career was with Wilflex. So
Yeah,
I
right.
can, I've seen the many different, the mixing systems and the pigment concentrates and all of the different guises that it goes through. It is a little bit concerning, I think, too. Like, at the risk of sounding like an old grumpy 47-year-old, but whites aren't like they used to be.
Pleased to hear that. I'm pleased
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hear that.
yeah.
Because
Whites used to be really white and really easy to flash and really nice to flood back. You can't bloody buy for love nor money. You can get a decent white now. Like,
yeah,
with all due respect to Wilflex,
yeah.
I
And
know
look, it's the same. I mean, I don't have that history of knowing that they're better, but we've experienced a bit of a degradation in the quality of the whites just in the last year.
totally.
And yeah, and I think Wilflex and Rutland are now manufacturing in China
Yeah,
for Australia.
I have heard this. Yes,
Yeah, and there is a difference, and people go, "I'll let the ink settle." I don't have time to let the ink settle. I need it in the
Yeah,
press. Like, it's insane,
yeah. You
Um,
sell it at your shop, yeah.
yeah, you get it settled and then sell it to me.
Yeah,
But it's and that just worries me a lot.
yeah.
But we use Wilflex and we use Rutland. We seldom ever print it in water base for the reasons I mentioned earlier about our climate here.
Yeah.
Very rarely, like does a customer say, "Oh, I want water based" or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't researched it enough, but I have heard rumblings around, the environmental side of things.
Yeah.
And what seems to be coming out at the moment is, water-based aren't actually much better for the environment than plastisol. And I think,
Absolutely.
it's just something that people don't know, like the public don't know. Have you
Yeah.
guys ever come across an ink called Virus?
I have heard of it. Yeah. This is don't have to flash it. Almost touch dry straight away.
Yeah.
It's for someone. This could probably more of an insight into my character as a man as it is to a tradesman. If you've got a salesman standing there telling you something and you are thinking that's too good to be true, in my opinion, in my experience, that is usually the case.
Yes.
It's bloody good to be true. I've had, I remember I went to T1 Prints in Sydney. There was, Donovan from Raw Tech Solutions.
Yes.
He had established a couple of years ago now, and I commend him for it, much as I commend you for this sense of community building, right, in this podcast. Donovan from Raw Tech Solutions had this great idea where he was going to have an Australian industry night. And this happened on 2 occasions, but it through ego and business and all the rest of it, it sort of just dissolved. But it was the invite to a big print shop in Marrickville in New South Wales called T1 Prints. And all of us printers from all the eastern seaboard of the country, we all flew to Marrickville for this night. And it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. All of the staff have gone. All us bloody printers just merge into this shop. And it was Donovan from Raw Tech Solutions used it as a bit of hey, I'm going to sell my wares to you guys, like the easy way products, the dip tanks, the spray boots and all that. And of course, T1 at that point had just an array of MNRs that Donovan must have installed there. So he had this, this industry night, which I thought was fantastic. I went to the first one. I supported it then. And I remember having a conversation with someone about these Virus inks. Now, I'll be honest, I could very well have been talking to the salesman himself. But even when he was telling me, I was just like, no, I'm not having that, mate. Like, it's dry straight away. No, it's not. Like, it was almost too good to be true. What's your experience, Sam? With
I haven't used it. I got a quote for a sampler, but it was like $1,000 or something ridiculous to get it here. They're an Italian company. But I'd like to give it a go just because there is an ecological story around it. Sorry?
Yes.
Where are they based?
I think they're in Italy.
Okay.
Italian company, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them on Instagram. They have it in like tins instead of.
Oh, do they? I don't know. Yeah, maybe they do. But I'm pretty sure they're Italian. but I'd like to try it. Like, you know, I'm sure you're the same, you know, I do want to get the ecological environmental story right, not just because it's good branding, and it is, and I think people do choose you over those things, but I genuinely don't want to end up in jail. That's the other reason, right?
Totally.
So, to the extent that we now, I don't know what you guys do, but we use a dip tank to reclaim, and so we use white spirits to remove ink, cause it to evaporate, keep the rags, it doesn't go down the sewage or anything else. And then we use a dip tank, and all that chemical we put in an IBC, and it's taken away roughly every 3 months. Yeah, it's just cleansed down in Hunter Valley. It's expensive, but at least I know that that's not going down any waterways. We're pretty religious about that, but I think it, you know, I'm just very nervous about too much of that or any of that really going down the sewage or the waterways. So yeah, I'd like to look at it. I just, I'm in Europe this Christmas actually, and you know, you say things like that. You know, I'm going to Britain, Poland, Italy, but I used to be, working Europe years ago, and I'm just like, no. So you know, it's big. So I would like to go and see, but just stick to what I know best at the moment. So do you guys do any discharge underbasing, or do you just lay down a normal white plastisol?
Adrian, we haven't done that in here yet, but Adrian's done it plenty of times.
Yeah. So are you talking about a discharge base and then plastisol colours over the top?
Yeah.
Then plenty of that. Absolutely. Yeah, it is effective. You know, in certain circumstances. You know, like obviously the art and the garment. Obviously, as soon as you put discharge into the equation, you want to be working with stable garments. You know, that give you a consistent finish. That's probably been the biggest experience or the biggest challenge that I've ever had as a printer when it comes to that discharge or plas charge or anything like that. Is the stuff that I can't control as the printer. Like I can't help that, you know, and I'm sure I could be wrong here, but they potentially might dye a fabric one color and then make a t-shirt out of it, and then they'd sell that t-shirt and it goes back to the dye house and it's turned into a secondary color. And then I'm charging that, and I'm seeing the first color that it originally was, and it's a pile of black shirts, and I've got two of them in there that are red. Like, what the hell is happening? You know, that's a constant battle, and that's a constant source of, you know, like I've certainly had, not Mitch, but other employers that I've had sort of stand at the back of the oven. What are you doing, Adrian? I'm like, I did not change my process from that shirt to that shirt, you know, and you've kind of got to tell people, it's like, well, I'm not in control of that garment. Was once a red shirt, now it's a black shirt. And seeing that through my white discharge, you know, that's a constant frustration, I suppose, you know. But yeah, I definitely have had plenty of experience with, you know, the old discharge base plastisol colours, you know. Makes it feel nice, you know.
Yeah, the so-called soft hand. I have to use discharge a fair bit on the Vastex, but you know, have that same problem of it drying in the mesh. But only for whites, right? Like not putting another color on top, or you know, plastisol or whatever. But I'm quite intrigued about it. But it's you know, the whole thing of, you know, here's a job for 100 T's or whatever, and it's customer X. Do we want to try it out? Or you know, or should we do something for ourselves at some point? Or when am I going to do that? You know,
well, that's the beauty, I think, of where we're at Ripple, is like Mitch has a couple of his own brands. And we sort of find here, we'll just grab one of his brands and do some research and development, you know, like, because we've got the luxury of, he's the boss, the client, the research and developer, you know, it's a really beautiful luxury to have. Obviously, I've not had that professionally before, you know. It's why. Yeah,
I think you have to have that. Like, it's just, that's what gives you inspiration to explore, you know, and make mistakes, and, you know, not as costly, you know. So you got to have that. You know, but you got to keep, you know, the customers too, you know. So you got that. Keep it all spinning.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of customers that are designers for other people, but also sell some of their own brands. And sometimes I say to them, look, can we try a different ink out on this? You know, do you mind? And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
pretty cool about it generally. But you know, if it doesn't work, you just chuck it in the rags bucket and start again, don't you? And just delay the order a little bit. So I've got a few more questions for you. I'm conscious of time. You guys going okay?
Yeah, I probably got another 10 minutes just so I got to drop a mate he's heading up to Brisbane. So yeah, 10 minutes I got. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So favorite prints. Please don't say black and white. We all know that's like 5,000 prints which are black and white. Everybody loves. But I mean, in terms of, you know, complexity, do you like sim process? Like, what is your ideal favorite kind of printing, I guess, as well as the print, the outcome?
That's a good question.
I mean, for me, I like it all, really. I can't go. That's, you know, yeah, I'd like to. We seem to get a lot of people that want technical prints. It seems like a lot of colors and a lot of detail. So I would love personally to see some more just black ink going down, you know, just straight down. Like I love that.
Yeah.
You know, where, you know, it's like you can, see that pile going down real quick versus, you know, but like all of my designs are, you know, pretty hard too, you know, the ones we like to do. But yeah, Adrian.
I'd say that what excites me printing is, you know, like is removing myself as a screen printer away from that, but just as a fanboy, let's call it, like it, you know, like I love motorcycles. We are very fortunate enough. Mitch has one of his clients is Troy Bayliss, the world champion Ducati riding. If anyone who knows Troy Bayliss, right? Troy Bayliss. That like I wake up the morning that I get to print those Ducati shirts, and I'm having my breakfast doing these ones. Yes, come on, I'm printing Ducati today. So it's the personal stuff, I suppose. That stuff that would excite me, stuff that I would go and spend my hard-earned on. Printing that's rad. I love that. You know, I shared that on my social media that day. Like, oh, look at the Ducati shirts I printed. You know, like it's, you know, like I 47-year-old fanboy, you know, I like it. I like the stuff that gets me excited. It makes me feel like when I was 16 and it's Christmas and you get your new Quicksilver shirt or your Billabong shirt or whatever it was, you know. That's why I like printing.
And I like that angle, you know, on the personal side of it.
I like the like printing surfing related stuff and, you know, nature, like things like that. Like I really like, you know, seeing artwork printed like that. So
okay. We should probably draw it to a close. Any questions that come to mind for you at all?
We're just thankful to come on your show, and hopefully you know, once we have the auto and our shop rolling, you know, we can chat again, you know, early next year or whatever, and we can have a little top up and we can show you what we're doing.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. And just how can people get in touch with you? You've got a website. What was the web address?
It's just rippleprinthouse.com.
rippleprinthouse.com. Okay. Instagram, Facebook, you got anything?
Ripple Printhouse.
Same deal.
Printhouse, So
Okay.
that's all kicking off now, and every day there's little advancements in that. So it's good.
Okay. Well, when I come to QLD next, I'll come and visit you guys.
For sure. Come up.
But for the moment, Adrian, Mitch, thanks so much. It's been just revelatory for me. I've really enjoyed it, and there's been a real vibe here. It's been very positive. So thanks for all your input and your advice as well. It's been great.
Yeah, man. No, good on you for growing the community of printers.
We'll see what we can do.
I think we should do more of, or the new ones coming through. That's the level of acceptable behavior. We are competitors, but we're all competing in the same game. You know, so it's not as though you have to share trade secrets with the print shop down the road.
Yeah.
But if the print shop down the road has just, their exposure tables just exploded, or they've run out of spray glue, why can't we be a community to go,
Absolutely.
Hey, bring your screens up, I'll shoot the bloody things for you. Or here's a tin of spray glue, community. Good on you for building this, Sam.
Oh, well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it, and have a great rest of the Arvo.
Yeah, back at you, man. Be well.
See you guys.
See you, bud.
Bye.